Good evening, mates. This side, Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. Before I proceed for the topic, let me remind you that in our YouTube video, in fact, every YouTube video, there is a description box provided by the YouTube. In this description box, there is a link which is provided by us. If you click on this link, you would reach to all free platforms owned by Treasury Consulting Group, whereby you need not to pay anything. Example, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and free Telegram groups also. This link which we are providing in a description box keeps updating every week. Like today we launched another free group which we update in another day or so. So I repeat, there is a description box. You just click the link, there all links will come. You can select where you wanted to join us. Today I wanted to cover a very important topic about something which I really love to cover. I wanted to cover, but somehow time is always an essence. Now the issue is that on an often note, especially in the international media, there is coming that Mr. Powell is going for testimony. Mr. Munchin, who is a Treasury regulator, Treasury secretary, he is going for testimony. Christine Lagarde, European Central Bank head, she's going to do some meeting, and different leaders. Now the point is that the markets track them very carefully, but what happens that people do not have a complete understanding of the trading, and this is one of the reason people lose it. I'm not saying that in all these testimonies whatever these leaders say, speak is wrong or incorrect, but in majority of the testimonies these speakers claim something which is really not factual in nature. Example, Mr. Powell in his recent testimony stressed on the requirement of the stimulus, and I really don't think that that requirement was inconsistent or it was wrong. It was completely consistent, in line with what is happening around, and especially today when we speaking on 24th September, and London is not only facing the lockdown, but according to CBRE, the cost of a lockdown is around 250 million pounds per day, which precisely means £1 billion after fourth day, or around £8 billion in 1 month. And as we speak, there are multiple European economies across the globe, those who are facing the flare-up. And that flare-up is rising. And in fact, I was watching Bloomberg TV and I was very surprised to see that, that majority of the top leaders of the top institutions, they are under quarantine. So situation is really messy. There is no doubt about that. So Mr. Powell's demand of stimulus is completely not inconsistent. It is consistent demand. But having said that, what happens that market consists of two people. When I say market, I'm talking about the price makers. We need to understand that we are definitely not price maker, and expecting ourselves to be a price maker is a big inconsistent mistake which we are doing. Maybe, God willing, Treasury Consulting after 10-15 years would be a big hedge fund and we may be a price maker at that point of time. But standing today, we are definitely not price maker, but we are reaching in that direction. Now what happens that market consists of two players. One is price makers and one is price takers. Price maker includes the big hedge funds, the institutional investors, ETFs, exchange traded fund, exchange traded platform, exchanges, and they are big people. Example, without quoting the name, we have American banks, those who either own hedge fund, either prop or public. They have potential to put $1 billion of GBP dollar trade in a day. And if somebody having a potential of putting GBP $1 billion, then I really don't think that GBP, which is trading currently at 1.27 precisely, it can even swing to 1.26 or 1.28. It depends in which direction are you moving. Are you moving in the sell side or the buy side or the mid swaps? That is more important. We need to understand that they are price makers. We are not price makers. We just need to predict the market. And of course, like as we speak, there is a lot of risk off which is happening in the market. And somehow today the US indices are getting a green color, which they were trying from the last several days. But I already warned people that every risk off is having a life of 5 to 10 days. Last risk off happened is somewhere in January, between January to February, and now the risk off is happening in August, and probably another risk September, and maybe another risk off will happen in December, closer to Christ time. Christ stand for Christmas. So what really happens as a trader, you not only need to watch these speakers, but you also need to predict the market movement according to whatever these speakers are saying. Now, one important thing as a trader which you need to understand is that many of the comments by these speakers are always not consistent, but many are consistent. You just need to listen them in a very immaculate way. No error should be there. Plus, what you need to do, and that is more important than listening, you need to see the impact of what they are saying on the market. And that is more important. But sometimes what happens that, and there are many leaders, by the way, not everybody who is sitting at the top is a competent authority. That is also a fact. Sometimes there are many incompetent authorities that sits at the top of an institute. And what happens? They give irrational statements. And when they give irrational statements, the market moves. When the market moves, what happens? People lost or people made gains, depend in which direction you are. Here a huge patience is required, because one good thing that is always a fact, which in fact was the fact, which is a fact and would continue to be a fact, is that market always corrects himself. So if any irrational speaker come on the board and he speaks vaccine will come tomorrow, it might be possible that all indices will come on the green. But very soon the market will realize that this statement is completely inconsistent and no vaccine is coming tomorrow. And eventually this speaker will lose its credential. So example, Federal Reserve Governor, currently Mr. Powell, he's always considered to be the most honest and straightforward person. And it is very difficult to find inconsistencies in his approach. As and when FOMC meeting happened, he came in public domain, answered the different questions of different analysts by the banks. I think it's completely immaculate. Rarely he make mistakes. Rarely he gives statements wherein I disregard, but out of 199 times, I feel that whatever he's saying is a matter of fact. On the contrary, if I look at the Janet Yellen, the previous one, she was on the other side. So Mr. Powell is 100% immaculate, while according to me, Janet Yellen was 1% immaculate. So it matters. It really matters. Example, European Central Bank. The ex-president of European Central Bank, he was very consistent and he was to the point compared to the current president, which is Christine Lagarde. And by the way, if Christine is listening to me, I would love to have an interact with Christine that Europe as a whole is moving towards peace. And guys, I'm telling you that if this coronavirus situation not resolved early, the probability is pretty rare in nature, then it may even end up as a disintegration of euro. That is also a fact. Please do not forget that PIGS problem, PIIGS. Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Spain, and Greece. Please do not forget that. The debt problem still not resolved. It is not yet resolved. It's only a fiction in the mind that it is resolved. Is the Greece debt problem resolved? Is the Ireland debt problem resolved? No, not at all. Rather, it aggravated. How can we forget that 3 months ago the same globe was talking about Italy budget, and now everybody forget the Italy budget? But it would surely come on surface. It would surely come on surface probably another 2 months from now. Europe is definitely facing a lot of crisis, but the way earlier president addressed this issue was more immaculate than the current president. This is my personal opinion. And henceforth, whenever I listen to Christine Lagarde, I will only note down what relevant she's talking. But whenever I listen to Powell, I always see in which direction he actually foresee the market. Like, one of the beautiful things about Mr. Powell is, without any wastage of time, he acknowledged that Fed would continue to be zero or closer to zero on or before 2023. That is what you expect from a leader. You have to be straightforward. Let market know what you are thinking. Powell is completely straightforward to the point that, boss, don't expect any hike before 2023. Expecting any hike is completely irrational. You know the situation outside. While expecting similar kind of thing from the ECB is elusive. And forget the other regulators. There are regulators, you know where I am pointing to, who even do not know. Forget them, and I never watch them also. That is, they are only good once they sit on their chair, and I don't know how come they got selected. Anyways, so guys, as a trader, you need to understand that how exactly this works, and this is very important. Even it is important for the people, those who are price makers, like Goldman, JP and all. Even it is relevant for them. So even they cannot let it go. Oh, Mr. Powell is talking, let it be. No, they will also listen very carefully and evaluate their strategies. But to conclude this video, we always disrespect international media. And I'm sure that 99% of the people even not bothered to have Bloomberg TV. And maybe 80% of the people watching the videos, they even do not read 2 business newspapers. And 90% of the people even not bother to have a list of the questions which they really wanted to hear from these regulators. So guys, for knowledge you need to move ahead and get a gain. Do not expect knowledge will come to you. And there are various means to get knowledge. Knowledge is not easy. You need to work hard for that. Right? There is a risk off in the market. And guys, I have not slept. I'm awake and watching market seriously, looking at who is saying what, in which direction market can move. So trader's life is definitely not easy, but one thing I am always pleased is that this equation, and especially after COVID-19, made sure that my point on robo-advisory was correct. Before COVID-19, the whole media was robo-advisory. Citibank is doing, HSBC doing, this bank is doing, this is doing. Monetary Authority of Singapore, the so-called third class regulator, he gave the license to this person. That got robo-advisory. This Big Four launched a white paper on the robo-advisory. Hey, it's 9 months to COVID. 9 months. And robo-advisory is completely off the paper. Forget Hindi media, even international media is not talking about robo-advisory. I have not seen a single discussion on the robo-advisory on Bloomberg in the last several months. And not a single bank who claimed to be a robo-advisor pre-COVID even dared to come in the media and say, hey guys, We were generating 5% return, and now see, we generating 20% return after COVID. And guys, do you know, as I speak, yesterday there was an beautiful discussion on the Bloomberg. It was about Federal Reserve owns 16 ETFs, and they were showing the portfolio of the ETFs. Being a Bloomberg terminal user, we are having access to that. And you know, from May 2020 till August, these ETFs generated just 2.8% return. I was like shocked. 16 ETFs generated 2.8% return. And if I tell you the corpus which they're carrying, you would be like, but the point is, and that is more important, as a young gun, we even do not know that Federal Reserve owned 16 ETFs. Forget the name of the ETFs and forget evaluation of the portfolio. And then people come to me and say that from where you got this data. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting. You know our WhatsApp 9818485155. I once again reiterate that in the description section of our YouTube videos, you will find a link. This link covers almost all free groups, portals, social network platforms where we provide free information. And you are definitely welcome to have a link of our app. Anyways, it is already on the Android and very soon coming on the Apple. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting. Have a great time, guys, and bye. Game show.